All right, here's my awesome thing. So I think I mentioned a little bit last week. I had sort of discovered that ChatGPT can actually send me notifications, right? So I had set up a couple. One, I was trying to see if it would find a transcript for a YouTube daily discussion that happens every day, because I'd love to know when they talk about certain topics. So if I'm too busy to listen to it every day, and there's like information that really applies to what I do with video production, I'd be able to hop into it. So I'm at least getting a notification, just never finds anything. But the other thing that I did was I started, and I may have mentioned this in passing, but I wanted to start digging in on my stats and having it help me look at, Katie, we've talked about this a few times with what you do with it. So I'm trying to create a process for my stuff too. So I've been pulling down all those spreadsheets and CSVs of like YouTube and TikTok and my podcast and throwing those in and say, hey, tell me what's going on. What's the trends you're seeing? And I actually set it up that it sends me a reminder every week. Now, this time when I popped into it, I can't really show much of it, but I did start experimenting a little bit with it because something looked different. And I believe this is because I didn't realize that I knew it was coming. I didn't realize that Monday that my account kicked into ChatGPT-5. And I know there's been some one way or another stuff with some of the ways there's been reasoning, and there's some discussion around that going on. But I was really surprised to see that, I grabbed some, the Google or YouTube's will send you to a Google sheet that you're going to turn to an Excel file to download it kind of thing. And I stick it in there and did it. The thing that surprised me was it was starting to show me the work. So it opened up in ChatGPT a terminal window on a presumably remote computer. And it showed it converting the Excel file into a format that it could use herein. Of course, like if you go into ChatGPT, like spreadsheets will typically kind of reformat in here and be something that you can kind of look at in the system, right? And it's interpreting columns and see what what applies to what and everything like that. And then I was like, okay, that's interesting. So this was a little bit of like, hey, we'll do this stuff for you. So I was curious. So I went in because I don't have the back end stats, whether they're new formats or I don't pay for them or something. So I plugged in all the I always call them the Twitter like social medias for the Wrestling Mayhem show. So Twitter, Threads, our Mastodon account, Blue Sky. So I just like dropped those links in. I was like, hey, what can you tell me about stuff? And it actually, we do have thumbnails of it here in what's kind of left over in here. But generally, like it started like just opening the windows in a window on a remote computer, I guess, and started analyzing what it saw for the content and numbers and everything like that, right? And it took that and at least gave me a general overview about what's going on, what I should be looking at for opportunities for growth on those platforms. It did get into like what my audiences are, which was the largest audience, how did they compare, and it kind of went back and forth to that, So like I thought that was a really cool kind of thing, and also the way it presented was really kind of interesting, and seeing that visual of it opening something up on a computer also kind of unlocks how your brain processes what it's doing on its end, I guess. Like this is more than just like a language model, like it's a instructional model at this point, right? So, and then this, as I was researching to start to talk about this, I started deep diving a little bit into a little bit more of what GTP was doing. And I didn't realize, because I always listen to podcasts where people are doing the, what do they call vibe coding, where they go into one of these things and say, I want to make a app that does this, or a game that does this, and this, or something like that. So I made a Tetris game, you guys, like maybe 20 minutes before the show. So I went in here. There's a couple of things I tried. One thing I've been trying to do and figure out, and the one thing that's perplexed me for years, is I know I can make an app for IndieWrestling.network, right? It's a video through Vimeo, OTT. They have some SDKs, which I hear are depreciated, so I have to see what I can do with that. So I've been waiting for this coding thing to happen to see if I can start to apply that, right? So I have one where I'm kind of like asking questions about that, and you see like it is kind of making code for me that I can import, and it says, do you want to make this a Swift file, like a digestible? I can open in Swift, which is the one of the coding platforms. You have Xcode, and Swift UI is kind of the I guess more friendly iOS development platform that you can get on the Macs.
Swift code was actually
Mhm.
developed by Apple.
Yeah.
So it's really an iOS, Mac OS only developing.
Yeah.
And but it's like you said, it's really meant to be friendly for more friendly for an average developer.
Right, and it's citing all this stuff. It's giving me GitHub links and everything that goes with it. So I was like, well, I there's a lot of work I still need to do. I need to plug this into something in order to make sure it kind of actually works, and have it, I don't know, probably compile or something in those things, and send it up to get a developer account. There's a lot more homework that needs to happen for that. So I did hear on another podcast about somebody that went in and says, hey, I made a Tetris game. Now, I got into this a little bit, and and again, it spit out a bunch of code. I got a lot going on. I was like, give me. It says really simple. I didn't give it a lot. I'm like, I'd like a Tetris game where the pieces are the color of the rainbow. That's literally all I said. It breaks it down: 10 by 20 board, 7 rainbow traces, movement, rotation, soft and hard drop, line clear, score, pause, reset, next preview, clean tailwind UI. It gives me a learn, and then it tells me, do you want these to be HTML/Canvas or another framework? And it names a bunch of things that I don't know, except for I think that's JavaScript, which I did dabble in shortly. So I said, give me HTML. So I got this HTML, I copy and pasted it, I stuck it into a text document, and now the only problem is the pause button doesn't actually go away, but you can see in the background, there is a Tetris game functioning. It's very light on here, but there's definitely Tetris pieces going, and I'm playing with my keyboard right now. So, like, again, not perfect, but still something like it's something functional, right? That, and I tried a couple different browsers to see if it would kind of fix itself, but that's impressive. Obviously it's looking at, like, there's a bunch of Tetris like games, and people, probably a lot of people using it. This is a test bed, so it has a lot of knowledge on that. But it's an interesting first experiment to see how this goes. It just like spit out something like this, and I don't know if there's other ones that look like this or anything like this. Looks like the instructions are actually across the top here. Again, it's really kind of faded on stuff like this. I don't even know how much is coming through on the video at the moment, but yeah, you get to kind of the general idea. So, but yeah, no, that was pretty cool. So ChatGPT 5, again, it's doing a lot more higher thinking. You get these prompts where it's kind of again, it's still kind of showing your work a little bit, not the terminal prompts, but there is a little bit of it'll show, it's saying taking more time to think for a deep answer, but you do have an option to say, no, give me the quick answer, right? So, like, I think that's very interesting. How that's kind of separated there. I haven't experimented much with like the quick versus the long answer. I kind of like, no, go deep knowledge on this. I want kind of the best possible thing. I can wait. It's usually quick things like, hey, generate me a social media post to go with this video or something like that. That's going to be optimized, right? So situation. It was like probably like 80% of what like use ChatGPT for is just creating the informational post based on the content we create. So looking at that and say, how does this format over, right? So, but I've been really kind of pleased with that, and it's been an interesting jump there. And I have noticed a little bit of difference in the post quality. Like the Twitter posts are getting shorter. It was always like they always would still give me too much for a Twitter post. But they've been like almost too short, it feels sometimes. So, but that's fine. It gives me room to like actually, trying to tag people more so they know stuff's happening and things like that. So that's been really interesting. So that's ChatGPT 5, and and kind of a side awesome of this, they also released. I put this earlier in the thing, but since I'm just going to group these together for now because I'm just excited about some of the movements they've been making here. Now, this is not something I think I can jump into. Like, this is This might be something more if you're at a business that needs to do ChatGPT stuff, but you don't want to put it on a server where who knows what's going to happen to all your stuff. But if you want to create an internal AI kind of situation, they did unveil a free ChatGPT model or GPT model that can run on your laptop. This does still, I think, requires a 16 gigabytes of VRAM and an NVIDIA GPU. But that's for the bigger version. It can run on a single GPU, and they have a smaller one as well. And it's all running on being released on multiple platforms under the Apache 2.0 license, which is pretty general for open source kind of situations and free situations like that. So it does allow them to be modified for commercial purposes. So now, relatively anybody can take this and start building upon some of the work that OpenAI has been doing. So I'd be really interested to see what kind of develops out of this kind of model here. So that's what's going on with ChatGPT, and that is our thing of the week. So, and let's give a shout out to our friends that have been supporting on patreon.com/awesomecast for the longest time. Of course, we do have a Patreon only feed where we talk about a lot of times Dave and I talk about work stuff actually, right? Before the show. So, and all kinds of stuff there. So, and whatever we get into for the Patreon post afterwards that we record if you want, and we do stay on through the entire evening for the Wrestling Mayhem show. So give a shout to our friends that do support us over there at patreon.com/awesomecast. Brian Crawford, as well as Cynthia Klosky, John DeGore, and Dave Potter himself. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And please support the show over at patreon.com/awesomecast. I tried something new last week, and I want to get feedback. I again, just one of those things I'm working with. I again converted the show into a newsletter with the links, cleaned it up a little bit. I'm calling it the reader version of this podcast. The idea is I don't have time to listen. Like a lot of the stuff is for the people that don't have time to listen to an hour podcast. So there is a nice digestible, and I even included the stuff from the post show in this as well. And we started a Substack to also serve this if you prefer things in the Substack kind of way. Ideally, you can go through, see what's going on. It's got some quotes from us from the show and things like that, and links to things that like a more kind of cohesive linking of stories from the show. And then that's in your mailbox, through Patreon or Substack every week, so you can get that. And if there's anything you want to get in on there, you can hop in the show, listen to it, and expand on that if it's a week where you want to. Kind of like I created the thing for this show that I wanted to develop for the other show I listened to.